You and your partner both go to work every single day. Between the two of you, your household brings in six figures, maybe more. You're supposed to be thriving. But here's what's actually happening. The car breaks down, and you reach for the credit card. Vacation, still planning it. Savings? Technically there. But one bad month away from gone. And the worst part, you've done everything right. Degrees, the jobs, the house, the whole checklist, and it still doesn't feel like enough. So let me ask you something nobody ever asks out loud. What if the incomes isn't actually better than one? What if the thing you were told would save you financially is the exact thing slowly drowning you? Stay with me. By the end of this video, you will never look at your household income the same way again. And if this hits close to home, subscribe, because we talk about this kind of money psychology every single week. Let's go back to 1970 for a second. Not to romanticize it. I know those times weren't perfect for everyone. But from a pure household finance perspective, something very interesting was happening. The average middle-class family ran on one income, usually the father working, the mother managing the home. And here's the part that might genuinely surprise you. That one income was enough. Not barely enough. Actually, genuinely enough. A single earner in 1970 could comfortably afford the median-priced home. They could afford health care, a car, food, public school, and still have money left over to save. Now think about what that meant structurally. The family had a backup plan. If the primary earner lost their job, got sick, got laid off, whatever, the stay-at-home spouse could enter the workforce. That second income potential was like a financial insurance policy, sitting in reserve, never touched unless you needed it. Female workforce participation has climbed from around 43% in 1970 to nearly 57% now, and even higher among married parents. The two-income household is no longer the exception. It's the standard. More than 60% of married couples with children have both parents working full-time. We've activated the emergency backup plan and made it the default operating mode. And the problem isn't that women entered the workforce. That's not the point at all. The problem is what happened to prices when everyone suddenly had access to two incomes. Think about it like this. In 1970, houses were priced for what one income could buy. When families started showing up with two incomes, they could suddenly bid more for those same houses. Sellers noticed. Prices went up and up and up. The median home price in 1970, adjusted for today's dollars, was roughly $200,000. The median home price today, over $400,000. Housing costs have doubled relative to inflation. But it didn't stop there. Healthcare spending per household has increased by over 600% since 1970. 600%. And childcare, which barely existed as a real line item when someone was always home, now costs American families an average of over $11,000 per child per year. In expensive cities, you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 per child per year. Here's the brutal truth. Every single dollar that second income added to American households got absorbed by the rising cost of just staying in the middle class. The two-income family doesn't have double the financial security of the 1970 single-income family. Research shows they often have less because their fixed costs expanded to eat both salaries whole, and they burned their backup plan just to keep the lights on. This is what Harvard professor and later Senator Elizabeth Warren called the two-income trap, and she coined that term back in 2003, long before she was a politician, when she was studying over 1,000 families who had filed for bankruptcy. What her research found was genuinely shocking. Two-income families were more likely to go bankrupt than single-income families, working twice as hard, bringing home to paychecks, and still more likely to lose everything. That's not a personal failure. That's a structural trap. And there's a very good chance you're standing right in the middle of it, okay? So now let's talk about where the money actually goes. Because this is the part where people say, Bobby, this doesn't apply to us. We're responsible, and we don't blow money on stupid stuff. And I believe you, but let me walk you through the math. And I W you to be honest with yourself as we go through this. Let's say one partner earns $70,000 a year and the other earns $50,000, combined $120,000. Sounds solid. Looks great on paper. So let's isolate what actually happens to that $50,000 second income, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. Step 1, the tax haircut because of how progressive tax brackets work. That second income doesn't get taxed from $1 like a separate salary. It gets stacked on top of the first income, meaning it hits higher brackets immediately. When you factor in federal income tax, state income tax, and payroll taxes, the effective rate on that second income is often somewhere between 30% and 35%. Right out of the gate, your $50,000 becomes roughly $30,000 to $35,000 in actual take-home pay. You haven't done anything yet. You're already down $15,000 to $18,000. Step 2, the childcare bill. If you have even one child, you need childcare. Average cost of daycare in the United States is around $15,000 per year. Per child to kids, $30,000. Let's say you have one child, subtract $15,000. Your $50,000 income is now worth about $17,000 to $20,000, and we've barely started. Step 3, the second commute to working parents means to commuters. The average American spends roughly $5,000 a year on their commute. Yes, maintenance, vehicle depreciation. If you're paying for downtown parking, add another $1,000 to $3,000. If you need a second car that you wouldn't otherwise own, and many families do, add the car payment, insurance, and registration on top. Call it $8,000 to $10,000 total for that second person's transportation costs. Now your $50,000 is somewhere around $8,000 to $12,000. Step 4. The exhaustion economy here is the one nobody talks about to working parents. Both commuting, both grinding. Nobody has energy left at 7 p.m. Nobody wants to cook. Nobody wants to clean. Nobody wants to do yard work or handle home maintenance. So what happens? You order delivery, you hire a cleaning service, you pay for lawn care. You buy the pre-made meals, the faster but more expensive groceries. The extra restaurant nights because you simply cannot face the stove. Studies consistently show dual-income households spend significantly more on these convenience services compared to households where one person manages the domestic side. This exhaustion tax can easily add another $5,000 to $10,000 per year. Let's add it up $50. Zero gross income. Minus $17,000 in taxes, minus $15,000 in childcare, minus $8,000 in commuting, minus $7,000 in exhaustion spending. You're left with roughly $3,000 net for an entire year of full-time work. That's $8 per workday. That's less than $1 per hour, and that's assuming one child. An average cost of living city, and no major unexpected expenses. Now, here's the psychological trap that makes this so dangerous. You see $120,000 on your tax return. You make spending decisions based on $120,000. You buy a house based on what the incomes can qualify for. You take on car payments that the incomes can technically support. The bank looks at your combined income and tells you that you can afford a $450,000 mortgage. And technically, you can, as long as both of you keep working. Forever, no illness, no layoffs, no career breaks, no aging parents who need care, no child with unexpected needs. And that's exactly when the trap snaps shut. Because unlike that 1970s single-income family with a built-in backup plan, you have none, both. Incomes are already fully committed to your monthly obligations. If either partner loses their job, gets sick, or needs to step back for any reason, you're not just losing income. You're losing the income your entire fixed cost structure was built for. This is why Warren's research found that two-income families were more likely to file for bankruptcy, not because they were reckless, because they had zero margin, zero room for error. We're running at 100% capacity with no reserve, like a car with no oil in the engine. Fine, right up until it isn't. And then everything breaks at once. All right, so if you've made it this far, maybe you're feeling seen. Maybe you're feeling a little unsettled. That's good, because awareness is the first step. Now let's talk about what you can actually do. And I want to be clear, I'm not going to tell you that your partner should quit their job. That's not realistic for most people, and it's not the point. The point is to change the structure of how you think about and use those two incomes. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop treating the second income as income. Start treating it as a weapon. Most families do the opposite. They treat both incomes as permanent, guaranteed, and foundational, and they build their lifestyle to match. They buy the house that the incomes can afford. They lease the cars that the incomes can support, and then they're locked, trapped. Neither partner can ever reduce their hours or step back, even when life demands it, because every dollar of both paychecks is already spoken for. The alternative, I call it the one-income foundation. Here's how it works. You structure your fixed costs, your mortgage, your car payments, your essential monthly obligations, so that they can be fully covered by one income alone. Just one, the lower one. Ideally, your fixed costs live on the foundation income. If either partner loses their job, gets sick, or needs to step back for any reason, you're not just losing income. You're losing the income your entire fixed cost structure was built for. This is why Warren's research found that two-income families were more likely to file for bankruptcy, not because they were reckless, because they had zero margin, zero room for error. They were running at 100% capacity with no reserve, like a car with no oil in the engine. Fine, right up until it isn't. And then everything breaks at once. All right, so if you've made it this far, maybe you're feeling seen. Maybe you're feeling a little unsettled. That's good, because awareness is the first step. Now let's talk about what you can actually do. And I want to be clear, I'm not going to tell you that your partner should quit their job. That's not realistic for most people, and it's not the point. The point is to change the structure of how you think about and use those two incomes. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop treating the second income as income. Start treating it as a weapon. Most families do the opposite. They treat both incomes as permanent, guaranteed, and foundational, and they build their lifestyle to match. They buy the house that the incomes can afford, at least the cars that the incomes can support, and then they're locked, trapped. Neither partner can ever reduce their hours or step back, even when life demands it, because every dollar of both paychecks is already spoken for. The alternative, I call it the one-income foundation. Here's how it works. You structure your fixed costs, your mortgage, your car payments, your essential monthly obligations, so that they can be fully covered by one income alone. Just one, the lower one. Ideally, your fixed costs live on the foundation income. Within 5 to 10 years, the investments you made with that second income start compounding. They start generating their own income, and gradually, something extraordinary happens. You end up with the financial security you thought to incomes would give you in the first place. Except now it's real. It's not dependent on both of you never getting sick, never getting laid off, never having an unexpected life event, or no longer the job losses away from disaster. You are building wealth instead of treading water. And here's the final thought I want to leave you with, because I think it reframes this entire conversation. The two-income trap isn't fundamentally about income. It's about flexibility. It's about margin. It's about having options when life, which always surprises you, actually shows up. Our grandparents with one income had something we quietly traded away: the ability to absorb a shock, to pivot, to have one partner focus on what the family actually needs. Without the whole financial structure crumbling, we gave that flexibility away for bigger houses, nicer cars, and the appearance of prosperity. Appearances aren't wealth. Gross income isn't security. And paychecks aren't better than one if both of them are already spent before they ever arrive. The families who truly thrive financially aren't the ones with the highest combined salaries. They're the ones who refused to let their expenses grow to consume everything they made. They kept their backup plan. They preserved their margin. You can earn your way out of a lot of problems in life, but you cannot earn your way out of a trap you don't even know you're standing in. Now you know. The question is what you're going to do about it. If this hit different, smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel. Subscribe for more content that challenges the way you think about money. And drop a comment below. Does this describe your situation? I read every single one.